Look at the infrastructure of the modern world, and you will find Japanese engineering at the center of it. They are an omnipresent technological titan. Yet, for the vast majority of recorded history, this was one of the most intensely secluded nations on Earth. How does a civilization that deliberately locked its doors to the rest of humanity end up becoming the primary architect of our globalized future? The answer starts with the physical reality of the Earth. The Japanese archipelago sits completely detached from the Asian mainland, separated by hundreds of miles of deep, treacherous ocean. Crossing this distance required a level of seafaring sophistication that few ancient civilizations possessed. This oceanic barrier acted as a powerful filter. While occasional trade and ideas crossed the water, the lack of constant, large-scale migration allowed the prehistoric Jomon people to build a distinct foundation, developing social patterns entirely separate from the Asian mainland. By prehistoric times, the Jomon people were already establishing a society highly distinct from anything on the mainland. You can see it in their earliest creations, like this clay vessel. Those distinctive cord-marked patterns are the fingerprints of an isolated, completely independent culture. Because they developed in such a closed loop, their foundational myths naturally reflected a profound sense of singularity. They believed the islands themselves were created by the gods, and that the emperor was a direct descendant of the Sun Goddess Amaterasu. Deep water kept foreign influence at a distance, and divine myths cemented their internal unity. Long before the concept of global trade existed, Japan had already forged a society convinced of its own unique insular identity. But isolation doesn't mean peace. The islands are highly mountainous, leaving very little flat, arable land. When resources are that scarce, whoever controls the fertile valleys controls the country. To defend their small territories, local lords cultivated a fierce, elite warrior class, the samurai. For centuries, these clans fought brutal civil wars, until a series of powerful military dictators, the shoguns, finally conquered their rivals and unified the nation under one banner. Having achieved absolute control, the Tokugawa shogunate made a radical geopolitical decision. To prevent foreign powers and religions from destabilizing their hard-won peace, they sealed the borders completely. Under this Edo period lockdown, the society didn't decay, it concentrated. The energy of the samurai class shifted from fighting wars to administering a thriving, hyper-organized society. Centuries of lockdown compressed the nation's focus, refining a hyper-structured social order. This prolonged isolation acted as a crucible, distilling Japanese discipline and national identity into an incredibly dense, unified force. That stability was shattered in the mid-19th century when heavily armed Western fleets arrived on their shores, threatening absolute colonization if the ports weren't opened immediately. Faced with the reality of advanced foreign weaponry, the leadership initiated the Meiji Restoration. It was a massive, society-wide survival tactic. Modernize overnight or be conquered. They didn't abandon their centuries of Edo period discipline, they redirected it. The fierce loyalty and rigid structure of the feudal system were grafted onto capitalism. The population exchanged their swords for massive industrial machinery. While other nations fractured under Western imperial pressure, Japan treated industrialization as a martial duty. They harnessed a focus developed during their long isolation to fuel an explosive industrial boom. That rapid industrialization inevitably built a military empire, bringing them into direct, brutal conflict with global powers during World War II. It ended in absolute catastrophic destruction. In the aftermath, Japan was stripped of its military forces and overseas territories. They were forced back into a modern version of their ancient isolation, confined strictly to their home islands and legally forbidden from ever waging war again. So they pivoted a second time. The deep-rooted societal discipline remained intact. They took the unified spirit that once built armies and channeled it entirely into manufacturing, electronics, and consumer innovation. Within just 2 decades of their zero point, they were launching the Shinkansen bullet train and hosting the Olympics in a rebuilt Tokyo. The tragedy of the 20th century proved the immense utility of their history. The rigid cultural resilience they developed as an isolated island could survive massive trauma, allowing them to shift from military conquest to economic dominance. Today, Japan operates as an undisputed, futuristic titan of the global economy and pop culture. They dictate the pace of cutting-edge industries, leading the world in robotics and automation. But look closely, and you realize this hyper-modernity never erased their origins. The deep traditions of their secluded past exist in tandem with the technology. The very isolation that kept Japan sealed away from the rest of the world for centuries is precisely what forged the intense internal cohesion required to dominate the modern era. The ancient, disciplined identity forged in seclusion became the very engine of their modern global reach.